So, EJ, I want to first thank you for joining us here at the summit. Um, I was thinking about who could I bring on that had a different perspective, not just as a speaker, but as someone who's worked with a lot of speakers. I know you do artist management, you manage a lot of different people, but you've worked with over 1,200 speakers, actors, comedians, television personalities. So you have the perspective of the agent that represents them. You book people for stages, so you're like the booking person also, but you also have the marketing side. So I wanted to bring you on to talk about some of the hidden revenue opportunities for speakers that they're just not even thinking about, and also give some perspective of how the other people in the other positions that they're talking to views them. Does that make sense? Because a lot of speakers don't know what agents are looking for, or what, because I get it all the time. I want to get an agent. Well, do you even know what an agent's looking for? Or, I'm talking to this host and I'm going to tell her this. You don't even know what they're looking for. So I wanted to bring you here to talk
Yeah,
about that, if
yeah, it's
that's okay.
great. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here, excited to be a part of the summit, and excited about the summit and what the other speakers are presenting as well, because I know you got an awesome lineup for this. So, just to answer, to tap into something that you mentioned about what is it like other agents are looking for, right? And I don't know. I mean, it really depends on the agent, but I can't speak from my own perspective. When working with a speaker, I'm looking for flexibility in their thinking, flexibility in how they approach their outreach for speaking. Someone who's willing to think outside of the traditional ways that you would get speaking gigs, or the traditional ways you would build a foundation for a speaking business, right? Because what I often encounter with my clients or potential clients is that they come to me as a speaker, and that's literally all that they bring, right? They think that's all they're bringing. That I'm a speaker, I know how to get on the mic, I know how to rock the mic, if you will, and what I'm here to do is to highlight for them that there are a thousand other ways that you could leverage the beautiful instrument of your voice, your speaking, your oration services, and share that with the world in all those other ways, so that your business can be sustainable, can be scalable, right? And we're always looking to be able to put those structures in place, because God forbid something happens to a speaker, if you're not on the stage, where's the income coming from? And so that's how we kind of parlay into this, looking for those hidden ways that speakers don't necessarily identify uh, just off the bat, that they could generate streams of income that may not necessarily require them being present all the time, right? It's like create it once and then allow it to bring in that residual income.
No, that's a big deal. I mean, a huge deal. Because what percentage do you think, if you had to say the ideal speaker, what percentage of their revenue should come from them being on stage or someone that you represent? Well, ideally, they may not be there, but just like, hey,
Yeah,
here's what you should
I
be
think
shooting
you
for.
should be looking at about I completely agree if someone disagree with me. I'm completely okay if you disagree with this, but I believe that you should be looking at about 30%, right? The other 70% of your income is where I'm looking, right? I'm looking to book my clients on speaking gigs, but we utilize being on stage as like your biggest traffic source, right? Your biggest lead generation opportunity. While it can be lucrative, right? It could also get you way more exposure. Um, Putting all your eggs in that as the income generation basket is riddled with, feast or famine moments, trying to get the next gig, struggling to build your business because you're waiting for that next gig to come in. And so I say about 30%. And the reason I say that is because we should be building these other portals as well, these other streams of income, so that during those times when maybe you don't have a 5-figure gig or you don't have a gig that's coming in right away, you still have steady streams of income lifting the business, right? Because I think one of the things that I found with a lot of speakers, especially emerging speakers, right, is that they don't necessarily see this as a business, right? They don't look at it through that lens. They look at it as like, I'm a great speaker. I know how to inspire people. I know how to teach. I know how to get in front of a crowd. But you have to really, if you want this to be sustainable, you want it to grow, you want to make the impact that you want to make on the world, you have to look at it like a business. And a business requires consistent income generation in order for it to thrive. And so looking for these other opportunities to tap into what you do best, to tap into your thought leadership, to tap into and take what it is you talk about, what it is you share with the world, and then transmute that into other products and services that are consistently generating income. That's the whole objective.
No, that's huge. I didn't I didn't know what number to expect, but when I think about it, 30% makes a lot of sense because speaking is unleveraged, right? You got to actually go do that. There's no leverage behind it, right? But the other parts of the business are leveraged, meaning you can do it once and sell it
Exactly.
1,000 times, right? So yeah, 30% is probably the starting point. As you get bigger, you want that to be like 10%, I would
Exactly.
assume. Like you want to be smashing
Exactly.
that joint
That way you
down,
can
you know?
walk on the stages that you really want to walk on, right? You're not hustling to find stages to be on. You're actually choosing stages to be on. There's a difference, right? It's like when you're starting out, you're hustling. You just want to be, you probably go speak on a street corner if somebody would gather an audience there, right? But as your messaging becomes more refined, as you become a little bit more discerning about the audiences you want to be in front of, the stages start to get smaller and smaller. Like you start to choose fewer and fewer stages to be on because you know you're going for maximum impact. And the thing about that is having these income streams running in the background all the time, you can scale that back to, hey, I'm only on 3 stages a year. That's it. I'm only on 2 a year. I'm only on 1 a year, and I create it, right? So ultimately, you can start to scale the travel down. You can start to scale all of that hustling down, and really just be laser focused about what you're most passionate about sharing, which is, I think, ultimately probably the goal for most speakers. Is to really be sharing what they're passionate about sharing and with the people that they want to make an impact with.
I was talking to someone and I said, how many speaking gigs do you want to do per year? They were like, 100? 100? Two a week? I'm like, you really want to be living? Yeah, I want to speak at 100 conferences this year. And I didn't understand it. So I asked the next question. I said, well, why? And they were like, well, I want to make $250,000 and I get paid $2,500 per gig. So 250,000 divided by 2,500. I need to do 100 gigs to get there. And I can do it, man. I know I can do it. And I'm like, oh, so this
Yeah.
isn't logical at all. It's logical in one way as far as calculus, but it's not logical in logistics, right? It's not practical. Maybe I should say that. It's not practical. So a lot of times when I hear the guys who say, I want to do 1,800 gigs in 2025, I'm like, wait, you're doing math. You're dividing your
Yeah.
$500 speaking fee into that. That's what I mean
Yeah.
by unleveraged, right? What are some of the leverage things that a person who may want to do $250,000 in revenue can do that doesn't require all of it to come from 85 speaking gigs? Now, let me preface this. Should you be trying to do 100 or 200 speaking gigs if you're just starting out? Yes, because you need more time on stage and you just got to get better. So you need to accelerate that. But I don't think that's what you want to be doing 15 years into your career. I think you want to kind of slow that down and have some of that leverage. So, what are those leveraged income opportunities that are outside of speaking that we don't know about?
What you speak of, Ron, is like the 10,000 mastery hours, right? You got to put those in first before you gain mastery in something. Speaking is no different. And to look at, okay, I know I want to make X amount of dollars. You put a number on it, 250, 250,000, 500,000, a million, 2 million, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Chunking that down to your speaker fee is, like you just pointed out, a recipe for burnout and frustration and just plain old giving up. Um, so what I always try to share with my clients is that how can we take what you're most passionate about, who you're most passionate about speaking to, create a systematized framework out of that, right? What do those people need? What is it that you already talk about? You know, if you are someone who talks about women's empowerment and your target audience is women of color, then how can we take a systematize your women's empowerment talk into a what we call our systematized framework? It's a 9-step process that we can take that out and then create any number of products or services based upon that. So you're never stepping away from your core messaging. You're actually just blowing it up and sharing it in a multitude of ways. And some of those ways are, you all heard about them. They're like course creation and coaching services or consulting services. All of those are great. They're wonderful. And they're a they're a great way to take your messaging and transmute those into those products and services, and then start marketing those, right? You can start generating residual income. It's created once with courses, and then you just sell it over and over again. But there are other ways that you could do that as well, right? It's about looking at the bigger picture. Where do you want your business as a speaker to grow and go, right? It's about duplication, like duplicating yourself. When you have a systematized framework for what you teach and share with the world, what can you do with that? You can now train other people to have that same framework at mastery level, and then have them actually go out and share that same messaging, same branding, same technology with even more people. So you're now duplicating your efforts. When I could bring on X amount of coaches, 15 more speakers, I can level up. Right now, I don't have to be on 180 stages, but I could have team assisting. And I think a lot of people don't think that large. It's just like, I need to get on the stage, right? But it's about creating the framework that you can duplicate and train others to do exactly what you do, right? Get the results exactly the way you get them. When you have a system like that, you could turn that into all manner of things. We like to take our clients' talks and put them through this filtering system to create this framework for their topic, and then brainstorm, just throw spaghetti on the wall as to what can we create. Is it a piece of software, which speakers overlook? They don't think that they can design software. And now with AI technology, there's so many more speakers and authors and coaches creating their own tools to be able to share their thought leadership and their knowledge in new and more technology forward ways, right? There's also leveraging the power of group and community, building communities of people that you want to serve, right? Now you can empower others to help lead that community, to create residual income and continuity products, right? So that, I mean, we could go on, and it's super exciting once you get into a topic and you can see how you can, what new ways you can bring that same information to your audience, just new, fresh, and exciting ways, so that every learning style, every consumption style in your audience is served powerfully.
So many gems. They should just rewind and go back and listen to that because I'm thinking John Maxwell did the licensing thing that you're talking about, where he taught people to go teach his stuff. So that's having your own group of speakers. That's what John Maxwell did. And a bunch of other people have copied it since, but John Maxwell is the one everybody knows, right? With the Maxwell coaching system, right? Or Maxwell certified. That's what it is. Like, I'm gonna get some people, Ryan Story Jr.
Right?
certified, right?
Why not?
The second thing is, well, no, I mean we should, right? The second thing is the software side, and I thought about the origin of Speaker Hub. Andras was a speaker; he wasn't a software person, but he figured that he needed speaking gigs, and if he created a directory for organizers, he could help other speakers to solve the same problem. He's a lawyer. He's not a developer at all, and he ended up building Speaker Hub just because he understood a need that he could solve for other speakers. So yeah, I mean that building your own speaking crew, like a breakdance crew of speakers, and then creating
Yeah.
software. Creating software is like, I mean, we're looking at it. I'm like, oh, these are two good examples. Speaker Hub was started because of that,
Right.
one of
It's
those
how
examples.
every great invention, I think, gets like launched is you have a need for it first and you come up with the solution, and it could be software, it could be a checklist, it could be a dashboard, it could be a book, it could be a course, it could be a certification program. Like there's endless possibilities. It's about, and I'll share this with you, Ron. When oftentimes when I have a consult with a new client and they're a speaker, it's I have to I have to tell them this story. So I'm going to share this one with you. If I live in LA, so we fly to LAX, Hawaii is next door across the water, right? And Hawaii, the group of islands, a beautiful group of islands, people all know about Hawaii. When we take off in a plane headed to Hawaii, the pilot has a flight plan, right? Straight to Hawaii. If the pilot veers off that flight plan, even 3 degrees, we would miss the entire group of Hawaiian islands. Might end up in Samoa, right? But if he stays on that plan, we'll get to Hawaii. Well, I share that because looking at your speaking business is like looking at that flight plan. You have one flight plan that's taking you to the stage. That's Hawaii, right? You know how to get there. You know it's hitting the pavement. It's reaching out. It's putting yourself out there, getting on the stage. That's one destination. But if you look behind it, there's some beautiful islands called Samoa. That's everything else you could create to run your business, to give you the space to market yourself more as a speaker. So oftentimes, my job is to get my clients to just change the flight plan. Just look at the flight plan 3 degrees, just 3 degrees differently, and let's see what we can create in that 3 degrees. What can we see on the horizon? How can we provide more value to the people that you want to serve in different ways, right? Not just on the stage, but maybe it's a retreat. Maybe it's less interactive. Maybe, I don't know. But once we dive into it, just looking over there opens up so many more possibilities. And it's a beautiful thing to be flexible in that way in your business, because as new technologies advance so quickly, especially right now, there's so many more opportunities for people who are non-tech people to I got bubbles flying over here, but people who are non-tech people to be able to enter the technology space, taking their thought leadership and creating something that could be high value for their clients and for their audiences.
I think you make some very good points. Is that you have to be open. That's the first thing. Because whenever someone introduces something new to you, usually we defend our current position. Because there was a logical reason why we're doing what we're currently doing. And so we have to defend it because we're not stupid. We're like, no, I logically chose to do this. But you can be open and logical at the same time. you can have your current position and be open to learning something else if that something else makes you better. So the decisions that we make should be flexible if we come into new information that will improve our situation. So I think that that's a big point that you make when you like, yo, be open to going a little bit beyond Hawaii. Be open to going a little bit to the left sometimes because you just never know what's over there. And you know, you can see people over there, so you
Yeah,
know it's
yeah,
safe. You see people with courses and software and trainings and all these other things, so you know it can be done. Are you open to having that in your life? I think
yeah,
that's a big deal, man.
yeah.
That is
And
huge. So, what are some
no,
of the
no,
other
go ahead.
things you? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
What was your question? No, I was gonna say
No, no,
one of the things that
no,
that
no.
you know may cause a little bit of apprehension from going over there is how do I get what I do on stage transmuted and reshaped into this new thing, right? And the beautiful part of it is there's a framework for that even, right? There's a system for uh, taking your subject matter expert brain and pulling that information out, designing it as a framework that's duplicatable, and then aligning products with that. And so, case in point is we developed a tool for our clients to do just that, right? And just put in their knowledge and then have it transmute that into a framework that they could go duplicate, teach others, expand, right? So I think if I were to give any piece of advice, the first piece of doing this is to take a look at your talks. Take a look at your talks. When you go through your presentations and your talks, you'll see what I like to call transformational moments or transformational snapshots throughout that talk. Those key insights, there's the beginning vestiges of a framework, right? And then you start brainstorming ideas from there. And don't be afraid to, 3 degrees. That's all you got to do. You could always run back. You don't have to stay out there, but just try it and see what you can come up with just by kind of looking at it from this meta perspective, looking at what you already share from a meta perspective. We're not asking you to create anything new here. We're just asking you to take what you do, take what you talk about, transmute it into new, fresh ideas.
You know, I got some help with that, and the person that helped me was called ChatGPT. I just put in, hey, I do this. Give me a list of 50 products and services I can offer. And it gave me like a list of stuff. And I didn't use most of them, but I found the ones that resonated with me. I didn't need all 50. I ain't about to offer 50 products, but I found five. And I'm like, yo, these five we can actually do. I think we can execute these
There
and
you
it'll be
go.
dope. Right? Because ChatGPT has the
Yep.
world's knowledge in your pocket. And you can ask it. It knows about
Right.
products we
It
never thought
does.
about. So no, I think
Yeah,
that that's pretty cool, dude.
you could totally
That's
do
a big
that. And if
deal.
you want something more refined, I think Ron has given some gifts. We're giving a gift. We're giving you our speaker monetization guru tool. You could go in there. It's already primed and ready for you, and have at it. So I think that's going to be something.
There it is. You don't even need ChatGPT. We're gonna
There
use
you go.
yours, We're gonna use yours. So my other question was because you talked about it from an emerging speaker perspective, like here's what you walked them through. What are some of the things mentally that you believe hold back emerging speakers from taking that next step?
Oh, by and far, fear. Fear is number one, and it's fear of the unknown, right? Like what's on the other side of this. Like I know what I do when I go on stage. I know what I do when I'm doing a keynote. I know that, but I don't know this other thing. I I don't know that. And so that's where that openness, that curiosity and openness comes in. Is like being willing to say, I'm willing to just try this thing, even if it fails. I'm willing to try to stretch myself beyond just uh, fighting to be on stages, but I'm willing to try this thing because I know this is going to sustain my business. Right. And so, number one, I would say fear. Number two, I'd say just uh, the lack of support, kind of building out these suites of products or ideas of products. Right. Trying to go it on your alone, or go to YouTube University and figure it out. And you could. We brought up ChatGPT. You could use it, but even with ChatGPT, you got to guide it. Right. You need support in there. And I think trying to go it alone, often people bump up against frustration, right? That's where the frustration comes in. Um, and then, it's the mindset of getting out of that trading dollars for hours, right? Your speaking fee is like trading dollars for hours, right? It's like I show up, I get paid. If I don't show up, I don't get paid. Well, you got to start thinking about I show up once, I continuously get paid. I do this thing once, it's continuously going to pay me. And you got to be okay with that, right? Some people's money threshold is not there yet. And so I say breaking through that is essential, right? Because otherwise you're setting yourself up to be disappointed and failure. And so I think looking at I bring so much value to this. I bring the thought leadership, the value. I can do this once. It's duplicatable. And then I could step back and create even more or expand in different areas or go back to Hawaii if I want to. Like it's about looking for avenues where you could be fully self-expressed, where you can create something once and then it's going to become a residual income generation product, and being willing to be okay with that.
No, I think that those are really big, especially the fear part. Fear of the unknown holds us back. But the only way you get over fear of the unknown is starting to know. You just got to educate yourself and spend more time with it to get better. Then that unknown goes away because you can't fear the known. It's like, yeah, I know what to expect, so I'm not afraid of it anymore.
It's no different than when you first start speaking, right? There's a fear there. The very first time you say, I'm going to get on stage, you're like, oh, right? And then once you get up there, you're like, oh, okay, I survived. I didn't, burn while I was up here. I'm good. I may have, that was a good speech or that was a great presentation. That one was not, but I still lived, right? And then every time, like you said, the mastery hours too, you get those in. Creating products and services and different income verticals for your business is no different, right? It's you got to try it, you got to keep trying, and sometimes the products will fail, they won't hit, but at least there's a low barrier to entry because you're taking your own thought leadership, what you already know and teach, and just reshaping it, repackaging it in many different ways.
Okay. So here's my question. Because let me see what you're gonna say to this. I'm see if you're ready for this one. This one I get every week. Okay. I'm a new speaker. Make my dreams come true. You an agent. You get people booked. Make me rich. Here's my topic. What do you say to the new speaker who comes with that attitude? They don't communicate that, but that's the underlying attitude of, well, you're my
Yeah,
agent. Make
that's
me
it.
rich. You're supposed to develop my product. You're supposed to take this and make my course for me. You're supposed to get me on all of this stuff. What's your response? Because that's me right now. I'm coming to you like that.
You got
Like,
your arms
yeah,
folded.
do it.
Yeah, make me rich.
Do it. I'm Suge Knight. Do it.
um, I think the first thing that happens. You're right. It happens all the time. It's like make me rich, make me famous, and part of that, part of what I say to a person who comes to me like that is like, hey, what are you doing to make yourself rich and famous? Like, how are you putting in those mastery hours? And let me see what those mastery hours have produced. Because everybody we put you in front of wants to see, they don't, no organizer, no event planner wants to put a speaker in front of their carefully curated audience. It's like their children, right? They don't want to put a speaker in front of that audience that's not proven. And so that's why doing 1,000 podcasts or, doing free gigs in the beginning, that's why that's so important, because you need those game tapes, number one. You need that time in the gym, if you will. And that's what gets you to be good enough to say, I'm going to be rich at this. I'm about to make this money. Go find me the gigs that are going to, lace my pockets, if you will. But it requires that. And, personally, as a person who works with talent, I want the talent to come saying, hey, I'm coming to you as my agent, but I'm still out here working to be better. I want you to get me better gigs, but I'm committed to, I know that my voice is my gift. And I know that I need to get better at what I do, no matter what stage you are, right? One of my clients, Kim Coles, has been on stages for 30 plus years, but that doesn't stop her from still wanting to get better, right? And it's that sort of work ethic that any agent or manager or team wants to see in their star, right? It's no different than basketball. I'm a basketball fan. LeBron James, like, they want to see his work ethic, right? He's committed to the game. Like, he's committed to up leveling himself, to outshining his best, right? That's what we want to see from speakers, is that you're willing to work on your performance, work on what it looks like when you're on stage, know how to move an audience, know how to identify when your talk is not going the way you want it to go. Like, these are nuances to speaking that I think a lot of people don't take the time to master, right? It's like, yeah, I have something to say. That's only one small part of being a speaker. The really great orators know how to move a crowd emotionally, right? To bob and weave with a crowd when they're on stage, to engage with them and leave them feeling as if they were seen and heard and connected with them. Those are the nuances that we tend to overlook a lot, because that takes time, repetition, practice, commitment. That takes the mastery hours. And so I'm not saying that a person has to be there when they come to work with us, but I do want to see that they want to be there, that they want to gain that mastery, and that they're not just looking for a quick, hey, let me go get these gigs and I'm a half-ass go up here and talk, pardon my language, but I want somebody who wants to make a difference in the people that listen to them. And it moves, touches, and inspires the team to work even harder for them when we can see that they're working hard to be their very best.
But what you said is profound, and it's simple. It's, hey, nobody wants to work with somebody that's lazy. It's not my job or your job to make someone else's dream come true. It's my job to fill in the gaps on the path to that dream that they can't fill themselves, right? So we're a data company. We're not a dream company. If that's the case, I would pick people with bigger
Right.
dreams because they would have more money to
Hey.
pay me. So I would pick the people with the biggest dreams and I would make those come true. So I think the work ethic thing is under
Mm,
talked about because people are sold this other thing of, hey, just buy my course and you're going to be this. Just and nobody
yeah.
talks about the work. So they buy the $15,000 course that can't get them booked. And it's like, well, wait a minute, you kind of got the priority. The priorities are kind of messed up because now you have no way to
Yeah.
re-earn this money, right? And then they come to someone like you and I and they say, hey, yo, I spent this over there. I need you to do this for me for
Right.
free.
The key is that
What?
I spent this over there and I'm
No.
tapped out. So now I'm coming to you and I need you to give me these gigs so that I'm not tapped out anymore,
Yeah, I wish they forced all courses to be commission only.
based on results.
Yeah, exactly. Commission only. Because that's what they want us to do. Hey, can I just, if I get a gig, I'll give you part of it. But you didn't do that to your speaker coach. You didn't say based on, if I get a gig based on this crap you taught me in these
Right,
98 videos. Let me stop because that stuff drives me up the wall because I think it's taking advantage
yeah,
of the new
yeah,
speakers and it's not giving them the oxygen that they need and the truth that they need to
yeah,
get better, right? You mentioned LeBron. LeBron spent 15 years playing basketball
yeah.
for free,
On the
right?
streets in Cleveland.
He wasn't 8 years old. Like, I'm going to the NBA, so I need to be paid now because I'm 8.
Yeah, yeah,
Bro, get out of here, right? You just got to be dedicated to the mission. So I like that part. What are we missing, right? So we've been on now for 37, 38 minutes. What are we missing? What is the we covered the income streams. Let me kind of recap a bit. We covered that 70% of your revenue as a speaker should be from offstage activities. That's the first thing, which is a big deal, meaning that it should be from leverage things. The second thing that we went over is that there are multiple ways to generate that 70%. It could be from software, it could be from courses, it could be from um, a game plan or a checklist, it could be from a lot of other things that could be leveraged, right? The other thing that we went over, which is you have to get over that fear. The fear of the unknown only goes away by doing the thing more and more until you get better, right? And then don't come expecting someone else to make your dream come true. Put in the work and get better. What are we missing? Because I mean, that's a conference in itself, right? Just those four topics. You walk away from any conference with answers to those four questions, and you've won. It's worth the price of admission. What are we missing? What is the one? I always like to say, people ask frequently asked questions. What's the should have asked questions of a speaker?
and in no particular order, because these are all they're they're in an order, but not necessarily. But I do think this one has to land in the beginning, and it's about your heart. I think it comes from heart first, right? Like, why are you in this game? Why are you, we can go back to LeBron. Like, why is he so driven to up level himself, to up level the game of basketball, right? That's his ultimate goal. Like, what is the ultimate driving force for you as a speaker? Like, is it to go on a stage, make a difference in a person's life, change the trajectory of that person's life forever? Like, you got to look at the scope of that. And, people frame this in many different ways, like, what's your big why and all of that. But I really just keep it basic, man. Just like, what are you in this game for? Because if it's surface level stuff like fame and I want to make some money and I just want to be, adored and I want to have this fame of being on stage and the vanity of it, that's not sustainable, right? That's not sustainable. That's not going to sustain the business of speaking, right? It has to come from the heart. And so, it's really important that especially new speakers is to really take a look at, like, be really gut level honest with yourself, why you're choosing to walk this path. And if it comes back, is really because I want to be, notable and famous and make a little money in the process. Okay, be authentic with yourself about that and then go look for a deeper purpose that you could bring to the stage. Because believe it or not, no matter what you do, when you're in front of a group of people and your primary drive for being there is to make some money and look amazing, everybody in that audience feels it at some level. And so the stages you get on, the agents you may work with, the teams you may work with, they all feel that as well. And so if you want a truly authentic business, a business that can thrive and can flourish, then it starts with you being fully authentic about your reason for doing this, and then aligning that reason that's with something that's a little that has a little more depth than just making money and vanity. And so I think that's probably ground zero, before any of this other stuff, is to revisit that often. If you've been in the game for a while, right? If you feel like your speaking business has plateaued, then maybe a visit to that space again and kind of reevaluating that will be the thing to just ratchet that up a little bit. That's where what I would say, probably the one thing we didn't cover.
No, that's probably the most important thing, right? And that's why I asked that question. And the reason why I always like to ask, like, hey, what is it that we're missing? Because your experience, you know some things that I don't know. So I don't know the question that brings it out, but you have a pulse of what speakers are dealing with. So I'm glad that you answered it that way because I would have never thought to ask that question.
Yeah,
You see what I mean? Like I would have never said, "Well, what's the foundation of?" I ain't thinking like that. Like I'm
yeah.
thinking about something else. But I'm glad you answered that. And I was waiting on them daggone thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. What the thumbs up in the background, bro?
It never does it when you want it to. It's like, look, I'm gonna do what I want to.
That's it. It gives it
Yeah,
to you when you deserve it,
yeah.
not when you want it. And no, it makes sense. So I really appreciate you taking the time. Hopefully they go and they get your what is it called?
Speaker
The speaker boss?
monetization guru. That's what it's called.
Okay, speaker
Yeah.
monetization guru. Definitely, they should download that. Any closing thoughts as we
Yeah,
shut it
just
down?
keep at it. Keep at this game. It could be discouraging on the path, but just keep going. If your heart's in it, you want to make a difference with your audiences, don't give up. Keep stretching yourself.
And are you introvert
I'm
or extrovert?
introvert, but I've trained myself to be extrovert when I need to be.
Wait a minute. How
Hey
you
man,
train
I'm a
yourself? What's
certified
this? Talk about that.
hypnotherapist. Look, I hypnotize myself to do what I got to do when I need to do it. Anything is reprogrammable, right? So is my brain sometimes. So yeah.
Hey man, let's see. I'm hypnotized. Let me see. You got the spirits in the background. You're hypnotizing people. This is
Yeah,
incredible.
man. Good stuff. Sometimes I have to hypnotize my clients to get them through their barriers, right? Like if they're faced with a barrier, sometimes we have to use hypnosis, NLP, a lot of different things to help people break through those barriers.
So what you're basically saying is that it's in our minds. Most of the time, we're in our own ways, and we should find a way to remove those barriers on
Yeah,
our limiting beliefs as far as income, opportunity. Why are we in this
yeah,
thing? All of that is what holds us back. So no,
yeah.
that's a big gem. So thanks so much, EJ. I appreciate it. Thank you for the time. We're gonna do more work with this here at Speaker
Sure.
Hub over time. What I'll close with this because I think it's pretty cool. You mentioned event planners don't want to put anybody in front of their audience because they care about them so much. And when I was putting together the summit, I wanted to make sure that I had people on that I knew, that I know that this person has the goods. I know that what they're talking about, they actually do versus because I respect the audience enough. So hopefully the people who are at the summit, they get that same feeling from the people we've chosen like you and Les and all the other folks. So thanks for thanks for being a
Hey,
part. It
my
really
pleasure,
means a lot.
man. Thanks for having me. I always enjoy working with you. It's great what you're doing, putting this out here for folks. So thanks for having me. I appreciate it.